All right, I'm gonna just tell him to hop in your space. All right. But yeah, man, we live on Instagram, we live on YouTube. I just want to let people know that this shit is janky as hell in fucking X land, man. You know what I'm saying?
Waiting for the room to fill up, waiting for the room to fill up.
Yeah, man. I'm not even gonna play no music or nothing, man. This shit jankier than a motherfucker, man. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, we live on Instagram, we live on YouTube. I just want to apologize to everybody. Appreciate y'all patience, man. You know what I'm saying? Cause this shit has been nuts, man. But I've been setting up here, waiting, you know what I'm saying, for everything to get right. And Tia came through in the clutch, and I appreciate that. So I'm here Dolo at the Rice Center because I just want to let everybody know Just Cheese is in Martha's Vineyard, okay? He's out there, and big shout out to Just Cheese. He's speaking at a crypto convention out there, and crypto.com is sponsoring it, okay? So that's one of the sponsors, so that's super, super dope. And Blue, she is one of the community members for Render ATL in Atlanta Tech Week. All right, so Atlanta Tech Week is still going on. I think today's the last day. So she is doing something with them. She's one of the community members. So shout out to both my co-hosts who are still cooking, still doing Web3 shit, you know what I'm saying, in other parts, of the area, man. Martha's Vineyard and out here in these Atlanta streets, man. So shout out to Blue. Shout out to Just Cheese. All right. So today we got E3. He's about to hop on the stage, and we got NFTia. She's holding it down for your boy today, man. So Tia, how you doing? What's going on? How's your weekend?
It's going well, man. It's been all gas, no breaks, per usual. After a busy Thursday, putting everything together, getting ready for the tour. Had to stop on Friday and slow things down and take a trip down to southeast Georgia to take my daughter back to school. And, getting back to the swing of things, man, preparing for this busy week. So, yeah, that's how my weekend has been. It's been just ripping and running per usual.
Man, so I'm glad you made it down there safe and made it back in one piece. Now, speaking of traveling, you want to tell people about what we got going on next weekend, August 22nd, out there in Athens. You want to tell the people what we got popping?
Yeah, so absolutely, man. So I'm excited about this one. I feel like Athens is going to be a really good turnout. We're expecting around 35 people. We're going to be at Authentic Brewery in Athens. And this is going to be our very first activation outside of Atlanta for Atlanta Blockchain Center, and engaging with the state of Georgia. And as I sit back and reflect, I'm like, that's huge, man. Like, to just say, hey, we're about to take this act on the road and, you know, start to engage with other communities and start to build community and expand our tentacles into other communities, and empower other communities, because that's really what it comes down to, is an empowering other communities and showing them what it looks like to be in this space, showing them exactly what Web3 is about. The most solid projects in Web3, they have a strong community, and I think that's where we got it right at Atlanta Blockchain Center in general, in Atlanta crypto community in general, man. We have strong community, and so being able to replicate that and be an example for other communities, and an extension of Atlanta, I just think it's amazing. I'm excited about it. And then after that, we have Athens. I'm in Augusta, Athens on the 22nd, and Augusta on the 29th. And then, we just got news on Friday that we're going to have to adjust the Savannah date again. But it's for good. So I didn't know Atlanta has 404 day. Savannah has 912 day. And that's why it's been so hard for me to find a location, a venue, all this stuff because it's cracking down there. And Savannah's a little bit more hesitant when it comes to new technology. I've heard it more than once. I've heard it via outreach. You know, Cheese and I, we just received the internet. No, we don't want anything with that crypto stuff. And so that's the mindset. And so that to pull people away from fun to come engage in tech on a weekend like that, it's going to be a little bit difficult. So we're going to adjust the schedule, but we're definitely going to keep the party going.
That's dope, man. That's dope. So that's ill. 912 day. That's kind of lit, man. So I understand why it's been difficult, but I'm glad that, things are still cooking. I'm sure, the next venue that you're going to find out there, is going to be lit. And I'm looking forward to Athens, Savannah, and all the other cities we're gonna pop up. I'm looking forward to the block party. The block party gonna be dope. The block party gonna be super super dope, man. So shout out to Stand with Crypto, you know, and man, shout out to you Tia for putting this thing together, man. You know what I'm saying? It's been real dope. I know it's been grueling as far as trying to organize everything together and getting things situated last minute. Not at any fault to yourself, but just how the money flowed in. But regardless of what, we popping, y'all. We popping, y'all. We got the shirts. I had to come in last minute and cook up the shirts and the flyers. So I got us looking right. That's my thing, man. I love graphic designing. That's my shit, man. So we gonna be out there representing lovely, and I'm looking forward to it, y'all. I'm looking forward to it. So, thank you, Tia, again. We got Just Cheese as one of the listeners. I'm glad he was able to top in. We got our guy, E3. We got him tapping in. He's going to be the co host today, the wonderful crypto. And Tia Sin, the wonderful crypto, aka Elijah, E3, a co host request, so he can jump in and share his thoughts, man. So, without further ado, we're gonna get into the topics. I'm gonna just let y'all know your boy just been working a lot. I got a new gig. It's pretty official. Unfortunately, it's not in Web3, but I'm locked in a pretty good job, so I'm not even tripping on that. But a lot of overtime. I had to work 8 hours yesterday, so but I managed to knock out 3 flyers this week, 2 yesterday, and some T-shirts. And getting back to getting everything situated with TCK, man. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna start seeing more Instagram posts. I still gotta organize all of the last week, man. InvestFest, they still going viral because Rashad said some shit like, yo, he ain't trying to cater to the black folks. It's not a black folks event. So that was a hot take. That was an extremely hot take, man. I don't know why he said that, but he caught some flack. This is the second viral thing. I don't know if he's just trying to, you know, engagement farming. I don't know what Rashad is doing, man, but it's kind of trippy that he said, InvestFest ain't for black. Come on, bro. You already know what we doing, man. Ain't nobody else gonna give it to us. Like they have been giving us the stock information and bringing a bunch of heavy hitters together. So yeah, man. Stand on that pro black shit, man. You know what I mean? Don't shy away from it. We gonna lean into it, man. So we got our guy E3 up on stage, man. We got to ask how he's doing. He's gonna be the co-host for today. So Elijah, man, how you doing, man? Appreciate you tapping in, brother.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Hey, happy Sunday. Hope everyone's doing good. Hey, I've been good for the most part. It was a pretty chill weekend. Didn't do too much. Yesterday, I went on actually a pretty long run with a couple people. Ended up being longer than I expected. So I was running to get to Stone Mountain. I got there like 6 a.m. And then once I got there, somebody that I usually that I met like a couple weeks ago running, he was actually finishing his lap, and he was like, "Yo, you trying to run?" And he had already did like 5 miles. So then he came out of nowhere. He was like, "You trying to do like this route I got going on?" And mind you, this guy's like he's like older. He's like around like 50 something, but he ended up doing like running 8 miles. So he ran like 15 in total. I ran 8, but at the very end, he like started pushing it, and I was like, damn man, why can't keep up with this guy? Yeah, it was a pretty eventful Saturday for the most part. I was invited to like this girl I know, her graduation, her nursing graduation party. She's an Ethiopian girl, and I got to see some shit I've never seen before when it comes to how communities hold up one another. I mean, I was like, bro, I, I don't know what's being said, but I had a good time. I had good food, and yeah, man, good weekend.
That's dope, man. That's great to hear that you got out. You went jogging, and yeah, man. Age really is a state of mind. So you said the older gentleman, you know, he had to push it, man, and it was hard to keep up with him. So that's funny, man. But that should just give you more motivation, man. You know what I'm saying? And then at the same time, hanging out with the Ethiopians. Yo, honestly, I ain't gonna lie. Ethiopian women are some of the most beautiful women in the world. And for those that don't know, the oldest lineage of Hebrews, that's right, folks, is in Ethiopia. The oldest Bible is in Ethiopia. It got 88 books in it. You know what I'm saying? Opposed to, we don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but y'all already know how I am, man. I'm big on history, man. So, but now that's super dope, E3, man. I'm glad you was able to get out and, you know, your health is important, man. So jogging, I know that's probably something I need to do, get my wind up, you know what I mean, so I can start getting on the court again. I love basketball. Plus Tia, she got some skills, so we gotta do some Web3 basketball shit, man. You know what I'm saying? We got a couple of ballers out there. I think D Web, I think he said he know how to ball too. So we gotta do like some, I don't know, Web3 crypto basketball game or something. You know what I'm saying? We got to get that in. You know what I mean? That'd be
Nah, for
super
real.
dope.
Nah, Webb is a hooper for real. I hooped with a couple of them once
Yeah, man.
for
That's
sure.
what's up. That's what's up, man. So again, I want to apologize.
I
Oh, that
ever
Tia.
since I blew this knee out, man, basketball the furthest thing on my list right now. So,
Oh
but I
man.
appreciate it. This knee, I keep it moving. But honestly, when I tell you every day it's a struggle for me with my knee, still, and I know I need to get it repaired surgically. But we'll see how it progresses. We'll see how it works.
Oh
But
yeah.
that's it.
Oh yeah, Tia. We gotta get that knee right, man, because I gotta see how your skills is on the court, man. Word up. That'll be dope. Shit. But yeah, y'all. That's what it's about, man. We trying to balance out our life. Sometimes we work a lot. Sometimes we don't go out and touch grass. Sometimes, you know, um, we just get caught up in life shit. We got to do healthy shit. Cheese last week, he said he hiked about 4.5 miles. You know what I'm saying? So that's super dope, man. So I'm proud of ABC members just getting out there and just trying to stay healthy, man. So that's what it's about, man. So again, shout out to everybody who's going to the tour. If you haven't registered yet, Tia, if you want, go ahead and send a link. Send a link so people can sign up for any event that they can attend. I know we got the first 3 cities. I know we got the Luma event popping for that already. So send those links out so people can go ahead and tap in. And if they can pull up to any one of these cities, it'll be great, man. We show up in big numbers. We show up in big numbers. So I'm looking forward to going to Athens, man. UGA, man. So yeah, y'all. Also, speaking of universities, we got a special announcement. Major shout out to Marlon Williams. Earlier this summer, he graduated from Morehouse. All right. But guess what? Marlon has enrolled into Georgia Tech. That's right, y'all. Marlon has enrolled into Georgia Tech to get his master's in computer science. So he's going to go deeper into AI and just coding, and just developing, man. So it's going to be super exciting to see the connections that Marlon is going to be able to make, just attending Georgia Tech and already having, a degree under his belt, a bachelor's from Morehouse, man. So major salute to Marlon for doing that, man. Proud of that brother, man. You're never too old to educate yourself, man. That's a great thing, man. So super proud of Marlon for doing that, man. Anybody else got any thoughts on what Marlon is doing? Because I know that's super motivating. All right, all right. So with that being said,
What's my bad?
nah, go
I'm
ahead,
just
Tia.
talking. I said, he the bar chef. You know, he stay cooking.
That's right. The bar chef stays cooking, y'all. Stay cooking, y'all. So, speaking of cooking, we're gonna get right into the mix. We're gonna get right into the mix. All right. So, some of the stories that we're gonna talk about. There's been a lot of crypto projects that has been shutting down. There's been projects that have been hacked. There's been data breaches. Man, this summer, if we not in a bear market, I don't know what is, man, because we got all of the signs, whether it's positive news not moving Bitcoin and all of this negative news from BitMEX shutting down. And yo, that's crazy, man. We got NFT projects shutting down. The only thing that's hot right now, honestly, is Robinhood Chain. Whether it's their meme coins or their NFTs, Robinhood Chain is the only thing that's really cooking right now. But there's one person who's standing firm 10 toes in this motherfucker, and he's the reason why the Democrats are not trying to pass the Clarity Act. So let's talk about what Trump is doing, all right? So Trump, he has a platform, a DeFi platform called World Liberty Financial, okay? So this is linked to Trump and his family. They have received preliminary conditional approval from the OCC to establish World Liberty Trust Company, a federally chartered national trust bank centered on its USD1 stablecoin. So, if it receives final authorization, the Florida based institution would take over USD1 issuance and redemption from BitGo while handling reserves, custody, and stablecoin conversions, giving World Liberty greater control over its rapidly expanding stablecoin infrastructure. So, now the institution would not operate as a traditional consumer bank, which I'm happy about that, accept conventional deposits, carry FDIC insured, or initially seek a Federal Reserve master account. So they're not getting them none of that, okay? So instead, it would function primarily as a federally supervised stablecoin and digital asset trust company. All right, so this is still conditional. So it still means that, the OCC still have to go through some some things that World Liberty must check off. They must check off on capital governance. They must check off compliance, risk management, and operational requirements before the bank can officially open. So I thought that this is interesting. Like Trump is getting a lot of flack from the Democrats when it comes to ethics. He made over $2 billion in the past 2 years with his crypto endeavors, him and his family. So he's trying to, disassociate himself, but stuff like this is not helping the Democrats. Listen, we go back, well, not we, our senators, they go back into session September the 15th, and they supposed to be signing off, hopefully, on a Clarity Act. But with this World Liberty Financial Bank Charter that the OCC has just officially approved, even though they still have some more things to go through to make them official, man, listen, this ain't gonna help passing the Clarity Act. I gotta ask my co-host, what's your thoughts on the OCC granting World Liberty a bank charter, all right, to be a digital asset trust company? Who wants to go first?
I can go first. I mean, I can't say I didn't see it coming. Listen, he got his chess pieces in place. Essentially, whether it's the CFTC or the OCC, the SEC, the Fed, like he put all his chess pieces in place before this is the checkmate. Now he can go back and forth from digital assets to traditional fiat. And he has the licensing to do so, which is huge. One of the things that I thought about though is I think we're going to see so much more of this actually, because if you think about it, I think there's over 10 different entities that have gotten their licensing, whether it's Crypto.com, Coinbase, Paxio, There's a whole bunch. I can't name them all, but there's like a plethora. Sony applied. You got other countries applying. And so, how, although all Trump stuff aside, we already know the game that he's playing because I mean, he's playing chess, not checkers. I don't got to keep saying that. But Trump aside, think about like how this is about to play out in general. Um, World Liberty Finance is not as big as like your Coinbases and stuff like that. So the fact that they're starting to grant some of these smaller entities the licensing for bank charters with restrictions, what that's going to look like once we start to get at the state level. And I mean, they're setting the tone because everything that's going on in Georgia, they're kind of paying attention to what's going on at a national level first, and then it's going to segue into a state level. And that's essentially what the stablecoin bill in Georgia has stated. Like, we're paying close attention, and however it's monitored at that level, I mean, they'll have a committee that monitors and govern how things are ran. But ultimately, you're going to start to see it even at a smaller level. Community banks, other local blockchain projects are going to be able to have it on a smaller level and a smaller scale for the state of Georgia. So I mean, it's going to be interesting how it plays out, but we're going to see a lot more of it.
Nah, great point, Tia. Great point. I think you're right. I think we're definitely going to see a lot more of this. Web3 companies, applying to be a bank. You know, so nah, you brought up a lot of great companies. Like Coinbase, like Paxos. I think Ripple applied for one too. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see a Web3 bank, man. I'll open up a Web3 bank account. E3, what's your thoughts on this? Appreciate that, Tia.
Yeah, yeah, great breakdown again too, Tia. I don't have much input as I do have questions for this. So with them like getting this bank charter, now they'll have like the ability to like manage their own like reserves and stuff. Is that like essentially what's going to be happening? Because if they get the access to manage their own reserves, does this allow them to like basically have more like freedom in what they can invest in as like a company itself? Because it will be interesting to know, like, because whoever was, I think you mentioned Bitgo or whatever was controlling it before the issuance of their stablecoin. Like, so now if World Liberty has the ability to issue their own stablecoins, what is that going to look like for them if that like fully takes place? Because yeah, I'm just interested. And then also too, I just wanted to add on. I think Circle has their own like national bank charter as well for like in New York. If I'm not mistaken. I saw that article.
Yeah, Circle is also a big player that has their own bank charter as well. Um, One of the things that I think is going to happen is you're going to have these task force, and even at the state level, conversations are being had about what the task force is going to look like. And I, I personally, I think this is how it's going to go. And this is, kind of just an outtake from the meeting that we had with Todd Jones. They don't want to put too many guardrails up too fast because it will stifle innovation. They want to do just enough to let it flow and then hand out the slap on the wrist or the bigger punishments when needed as time goes on. And then using those as examples to tighten up regulation as it goes. So, and it's just like rearing, like this child. I mean, this industry is in its infancy. It's still a toddler. So if you really think about it, like, hey, let me just, I'm teaching it, I'm giving it the rules, but I don't know this little motherfucker about to jump off a couch. So now I gotta let him know, hey, you jump off the couch head first, that's on you. and you're gonna be on your. But if you go out, if you do the X, Y, and Z, then I'm gonna get on your ass. You know what I'm saying? And so, you don't really know how to discipline a child until that child starts to move throughout this lifetime. And I think that's going to be the same thing with this whole regulatory framework, especially as it relates to stable coins and banking charters.
Nah, great point, Tia. Great point. So we know it's the wild, wild west right now, and these crypto companies they are waiting for a regulation, but some of them ain't. Some of them are like, hey, we've been operating without U.S. Regulation. Japan they got their shit together. The UK got their shit together. There's several countries who already integrated, Bitcoin regulation and adoption, you know, into their financial system, and now these people have the ability to invest in crypto safely, and developers know the guardrails. So yeah, to Tia's point, man, sometimes these developers gonna have to push the envelope to see what they can and cannot do, especially with Trump, man. But yeah, this is more of a stable coin play. To go back to Elijah's question, this is more of like a stable coin play, and they want to be essentially a digital asset trust company. So we already know that World Liberty Fi has a lot of Ethereum. They have a couple other um, major cryptocurrencies in their portfolio. So I'm assuming what they want to do in the future is, be a custodian. The same way Coinbase is a custodian for BlackRock. You see what I'm saying? So I can see a play where they just trying to position themselves just the same way like MicroStrategy is sitting on a lot of Bitcoin, the same way um, uh, Tom Lee's company they sitting on a lot of Ethereum. So these are like treasuries, man. So I think that's the way they want to go. But now I appreciate everybody's thoughts and comments on that, right? So to piggyback on what United States is trying to do, all right, we just talked about Web3 companies applying for bank charters. All right, let's talk about what Israel is doing. All right, so Israel, and I hope the United States follows suit. But Israel's largest Bank Lumi, is preparing to bring Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana trading directly into its Lumi trade investment platform through a partnership with Galaxy Digital. Shout out to Mike Novogratz, with a launch targeted for early 2027. So if completed, Lumi says it will become the first Israel bank to offer customers direct digital asset trading, allowing users, both Bank Lumi and digital banking arm Pepper, to buy, hold, and sell crypto without transferring funds to a separate exchange. So Galaxy will provide the institutional grade trading and custody infrastructure, while Lumi integrates the service into its existing banking environment. So with Israel receiving an estimated 22 billion in on-chain crypto value during the 12 months ending June 2025, integrating digital assets into the country's largest bank could broaden access among customers who prefer regulated traditional financial institutions over crypto native exchanges. So like Tia just named off a couple exchanges, whether it's Coinbase, whether it's Kraken, whether it's Binance, there's going to be some people who are not comfortable with putting, their digital assets onto these third-party exchanges. Some people will feel more comfortable just being able to use their traditional banks. And I feel like the United States is going to have to kind of take the same approach to cater to people who are not familiar with the Coinbases, the Krakens, the Binances, the Crypto.coms. People will feel more comfortable if they can buy digital assets directly from their bank, whether it be Bank of America, Wells Fargo, and we already know these banks, they're trying to launch their own stablecoin. All right, so this is a play that I really think United States should pay attention to, especially with players like Galaxy Digital, being the actual platform that will handle, most of this crypto trading, man. So this is dope, man. This is big for Galaxy Digital partnering with the biggest bank in Israel. say, hey, we got to see what's going on with the United States, man. So, Tia, E3, what's your thoughts on Israel's largest bank bringing Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana directly to their customers? And do you think banks like Wells Fargo, Bank of America, or Chase will follow suit? Who wants to go first?
I definitely. So, oh, go ahead,
Yeah.
Siri.
No,
You
you're
want to
good.
go
You're good.
first?
No, Joe. I was just saying Joe came up too as a speaker. I don't know if he was going to.
Oh, yes, sir. We got Just Cheese. Just Cheese is in the building. Maybe he want to give us a live update for what's going on in Martha's Vineyard. But yeah, share your thoughts, Cheese, on this topic and what's going on with Martha's Vineyard, man. I appreciate you tapping in, fam.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. The
What's
floor is
up,
yours.
everybody? What's up? What's up? Well, I wanted to say something first about not this topic. I had a comment on the previous topic, and the my perspective on that is two things. Is one, I feel like we've technically been here before, right? Um, when the Bush administration was in office, their entire family had already been dealing with oil, and a lot of the regulations and decisions made during the Bush era, a lot of them were made to reinforce either themselves or their partners, like Dick Cheney and his company Halliburton. Um, Ability to keep doing good business, right? So, and I think I'm gonna say it wasn't even I think it was more. It wasn't even bipartisan at that time. It was more just straight up ridiculousness. But this time it's a little bit more partisan. And then to add on to that, I think to your point, T Gold, and to Elijah's point, I think like we'll soon see like how some of these other companies are going to skew when it comes to like elections, right? The the initial siding of certain companies with Bush, with Donald Trump, was on the premise of the same premise that a lot of builders sided with him on, was that he was going to bring, regulation and freedom to this industry. But that can all change, right? Private money can move where private money sees fit, and they can endorse candidates that they see fit as well. So if they decided to endorse a Democrat, then it's actually a loss to Trump. Then it is. So it's actually going to benefit him to try and move as fast as possible for himself, right? And who knows? Like Circle may be highly Democratic in that regards to where they want to throw their dollars and weights, right? At the end of the day, certain PACs, right? Certain political action um, groups, committees, uh, they can sway the vote towards certain officials, but there doesn't have to be only one of those, right? Like there's going to be competition to the Stanford Cryptos of the world. There's going to be all types of different lobbying groups over time. So these are the things that are going to happen to this industry as it grows. So we have to just watch some of that. But that brings me to my last point. I think the other thing that will be interesting to watch will be how much of the rhetoric looks at this banking stuff as security and insurance for your money, right? Because ultimately speaking, stable coins as a technology is meant to stabilize money. And if people want to quote unquote bank with Trump, that's an option. But then there's going to be other options as well. And there may even be the CBDC option where that's like the quote unquote ultimate security from the government, right? If they market it as such. So I think it will be interesting. But I think like the private companies, to your point, T Gold, are there's a lot of them that are bigger than Will Refinance, and when they recognize that they can probably, if certain political parties want to win, they can play ball with the right ones.
Nah, great points, Cheese. Great points, man. Especially, mentioning that this isn't our first time witnessing a president having, some business ties, and there's certain things that are playing in his favor behind the scenes, and enriching his family and friends. So Trump is doing it with crypto, and to your point, the Bush family did it with oil, and we definitely are gonna see more companies get into the space. To your point, Cheese, man. So thank you for tapping in, man. Thank you for tapping in. Also, you want to give us any highlights on what's going on at Martha's Vineyard, and how did that turn out so far?
Is it just me, or is nobody talking?
Oh, you couldn't hear me? Could y'all hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I can hear you.
Oh, so I guess Cheese didn't hear. All right. I just want to ask, how was Martha's Vineyards, brother? How was that? Oh, Cheese got rugged. That's why he couldn't hear. Man, hopefully Cheese will jump back in. He can give us an update on what's going on at Martha's Vineyard, and Crypto.com sponsored that, man. So, yeah. Anybody else got any thoughts on what Israel is doing right now? And do you see any banks in the United States taking the same approach?
Yeah, no, I wanted to comment on the Israel thing. So one thing I think is playing out is it it's the largest bank in Israel, and X is not going to hear me say it, but I've heard it said before. People call it the United States of Israel,
Mm.
and so I ain't stirring up no pots right now. But if the shoe fits, one must wear it. And I just see, I just see a lot of decision making and maneuvering as it relates to Israel for the United States. It's really been the puppet master, if you will, for the United States. And the timing couldn't be more coincidental, in my opinion, with clarity coming and the deals that's being made. So that's one thing that I wanted to highlight, right? The second thing that kind of drew me to this subject is we were just talking about earn your leisure and all these things, and I'm not, all the controversy behind all that, and I don't want to go too deep into those weeds because that's a whole nother segment. But what I will say is, you just made the controversy statement that who you want to deal with, and that your InvestFest is open to everybody, and da 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 da. But I don't see none of us at these tables, and these are the real tables that we should be at. Like this is the real high level business deals that's going to affect the next 100 years. These deals that's going on right now with Novogratz and Galaxy and the largest bank, Loomis of Israel, is that business deal, that backdoor business deal that was the creature on Jekyll Island. I ain't gonna go too crazy though.
Sure. I'm glad the way you treaded lightly on that. You know what I mean. But a quick side note, you know, Mike Novogratz been on EYL. He been on Market Mondays. He actually been on stage, I think, last year for Invest Fest. You see what I'm saying? So, nah, to you, great point, man. So, honestly,
But did Mike Novogratz come back to Rashawn and them and say, hey, be a part of this deal? Let's cut EYL in on this deal.
you know that ain't gonna happen. To your point, listen, we can invite them to our table and our barbecues, but best believe we ain't getting invited to theirs. So I don't know why Rashad made that statement. He pissed a lot of black people off, and a lot of people said this year was like one of the best Invest Fest. You know what I'm saying? But I guess he want to, change it up and add more color to the event. I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad at that, but you don't have to um, talk bad about us to highlight other cultures. You see what I'm saying? I think that's where he had a misstep with that. I feel like he could have explained himself a little bit better as far as being more inclusive. Hey, we want to invite more white people, more Asian people, more Spanish people out there. We already got the black community sewed up. You know what I'm saying? Without tearing us down, you don't have to invite the other people. I feel like that's how he fucked up a dime to you. That was a great point. E3, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say that the stuff that's happening with Israel and them getting this partnership with how you pronounce their bank, Lumia or whatever, Lumia partnering with Galaxy is pretty interesting because like this is the stuff that goes on behind the scenes that people may not pay attention to in this space, and it just falls down to that narrative of like this is the it may not be boring to us, but this is like the boring stuff that goes on behind the scenes when no one's like hyping it up and really paying attention to what's happening. This is the stuff that makes like this is kind of the things that like makes that breaks the camel's back. I'll put it like that because now that these people who may have been like iffy about getting involved in like digital assets or anything blockchain related, they'll see that their bank, for one, with it being the largest bank in Israel, getting a partnership with Galaxy. So now there may be more trust acquired, essentially. So now people will see that they have access to these digital assets and they'll be able to park their money elsewhere rather than just the traditional stock market or whatever they currently have access to with their bank. So I think that this is going to be interesting to see how this turns out in the next next year or next few years, especially knowing that it's going to be taking place 2027. And that kind of plays into the narrative that I've been thinking like everything is really going to be taking off in the 2030s. And I know Jeff, sometimes we be talking about it, but I know he might bring up like Agenda 2030 and how this all plays a role into how the economy is going to be moving. So I think this is going to be cool to see how everything plays out. And to also mention to what T was saying about other banks wanting to launch their own stable coins or custody digital assets, I think that this will just be the domino effect that will hopefully, or I wouldn't say hopefully because I don't know what the effects will be in the U.S., but maybe banks will start considering custodying people's digital assets in the U.S. more. So, yeah.
Nah, great points, everyone. And honestly, to Tia's point, I hope you are right because if Israel is playing puppet master, hopefully the next thing we should see is like Bank of America partnering up with, crypto.com or Coinbase to actually provide the same services so retail investors can get Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana. It ain't got to be no, meme coins or no fucking coin ranked 150. It ain't got to be none of that. Safe bets, man. Top 5. So I appreciate everybody's thoughts on that. We got Cheese back up on stage. So the next few stories is pretty dope.
Herb GBT too.
Oh, Herb, what's going on, Herb? What's the question? I'm gonna look in the comments to see if he got a question in the comments, or he can get up on stage. Tia, if you want, you can send our guy Herb GPT, Larry Moore, a request. He can jump up on stage. Larry, what's going on, brother? How you doing, man? What's your thoughts?
I'm doing good. How are you all doing?
We good, man. We appreciate you tapping in today, brother.
Yep, enjoying the conversation. No, I just think I'm kind of happy for Trump. Like, I'm happy that he's able to pursue business ventures, whatever those may be. I think the whole Israel thing is kind of just a sign of what's to come. And I think that even if we don't pass the Clarity Act, which I strongly like doubt it'll be happening this year. And then I'm not even really sure what that timeline looks like because I'm not sure if it will be able to pass with a with a Republican White House president. But yeah, I think it's just showing us what's to come, and you'll be able to have access to these assets regardless. So with or without clarity, I think we're still headed in the right direction. And then with the stable coins, like I honestly like in my heart, I feel like it's gonna get really like tricky with being able to like track and verify a lot of that stuff. I think a lot of it, even though they say like it's back 1 to 1, I think this is just gonna be like a part like it's the double edged sword thing. Like it'll be a much easier way to like lose money and launder and like misrepresent. You know what I mean? And it's interesting because it's like a lot of these companies or these companies are becoming like holding companies or whatever you call it, where they're just managing dollars or whatever. But I don't know. It just seems like it's going to get kind of tricky as far as being able to like verify and back a lot of that. Yes, you'll be able to verify transactions, but as far as like the actual like value, which I think is a even more stronger case for like Bitcoin. But yeah, I think it's going to get interesting with how are they going to be able to like track that stuff and it's actually like verifiable or true.
All right, interesting points, interesting comments, man. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. And thank you for tapping in and being a loyal listener, man. You know? So, with that being said, I really think we're going to monitor the situation and hopefully we should be hearing some news. I agree with Larry. I don't think this is going to pass as far as the Clarity Act in 2026. And I definitely, since hearing from the Democrats, they are not trying to back anything that is positive for crypto because it's going to make Trump his bags pump. He already made 2 billion. So yeah, I definitely agree with where I got Larry with that, man. So, but innovation is still going to be developing. You know, the CTFC and the SEC said that regardless of, even if our politicians in Washington can't get it right, at least we got two branches as far as the CFTC and the SEC that will handle the commodities and securities, so we can have some definition on what crypto is what. All right. So thank y'all for that information. So the next story is pretty dope. And shout out to Marlon, man. He created something called Hoodwatch. All right. So this is a platform. This is a DEX, man. But it seems like the chain that he chose, Robinhood chain, this is the hottest chain right now. So hence the name Hoodwatch. All right. So let's talk about what Robinhood chain is doing. So Robinhood chain has recorded more than twice of Ethereum's daily NFT trading volume on August 12th, generating approximately $3 million compared to Ethereum's $1.3 million. That's according to Dune Analytics, data cited by the Data Nerd. So the roughly 2.3x advantage is an impressive early milestone for a blockchain whose mainnet just launched on July 1st. But analysts caution that much of the activity may be driven by FOMO and speculative traders chasing opportunities in the new ecosystem rather than sustained adoption. We see this every time there's a new chain that is launched. You're going to see NFTs, you're going to see meme coins launched on that. We saw that happen with Base, and sometimes shit don't stick. So Ethereum remains the industry's most established NFT network, while Robinhood chain could potentially compete through lower fees, faster transactions, and most importantly, access to Robinhood's massive existing retail investor audience. So the surge also comes as NFTs increasingly extend beyond digital art into gaming assets, membership, tickets, collectibles, and tokenized real-world assets. So this story I really like, all right? So shout out to all our meme coin DJs who's been cashing in on Robinhood chain, sometimes it can be exhausting. You just chasing the next coin that's gonna go stupid. You don't know what the community is like. because this is a new chain, and it's, if you ask me, it's probably the same people who was launching tokens on Solana and Base. They probably just went to Robinhood chain, launched different projects under different names, and it's like a cabal, pretty much. But if you can come up on any NFTs, because some of the hottest NFTs, yes, are popping on Robinhood chain. I'm not buying no Robinhood NFTs. I'm sorry. It's just I'm cool with the NFTs that I have on Ethereum and some on Solana. Those are most of my NFTs. And I got some NFTs from Vivi. Vivi is still smoking and still cooking shit. So I'm a big fan of those. So I'm not jumping. My personal opinion, this is not financial advice. If you are interested in looking at the newest hyped up NFTs, it's on Robinhood chain. And I don't really hear too much about Bitcoin ordinals. Those were essentially inscriptions on Satoshi, single Satoshis. I don't even hear about that anymore. But I'll just tell y'all like this: be careful about jumping and FOMOing into new meme coins and NFT projects on new chains. All right, so that's just my word of caution. And I gotta ask my co-host: have you guys bought any meme coins or NFTs on Robinhood chain? And what do you guys think about the volume transaction that has basically 2.3x what Ethereum has done? On this particular day. Who wants to go first?
I'll take it.
All right.
So I feel like three things. Our first three stories were about TriFi being super active during this bear market. And traditionally, in the past, when we had news coverage about TriFi penetrating pause into like the crypto market, it would be more partnership, it would be for a patent. But these are actually like real products that are rolling out and being used and have real volume. So that's one thing. Robinhood chain. It's one thing that they're doing right is solving the easeability for users to go straight in and interact on chain, right? I think that might have been another pause, but to be able to get to get right to it, right? Um, and so like with that, I mean, you got to think Robinhood is bigger than Coinbase. Robinhood has more liquidity, probably than all of Ethereum. And so there's no surprise that right now during the bear market with all the liquidity that whole ecosystem has, they can fuck off 10% of their uh, of their company's ecosystem funding and create honeypots and start to boost volume and make it a ooh, look at this. There's nothing else popping. It's the only fish fry in town, in the middle of a desert. Everybody is looking at them like, oh shit, these niggas, how the hell they done got some fish, some fresh fish, and they frying it, and the grease popping. That's what's going on with Robinhood chain. So it's the only fish fry in town, and the grease is popping. But what happens is it going to still be that way once the market starts to rebound and volume starts to pick up, and everyone in crypto, we love volatility. So while everything is relatively flat right now, you know it's the sexy chain. So of course, right? Another red flag, third red flag about the NFT space on Robinhood. There's most of that is between 20 users. $3.3 million worth, of NFT activity between three users. So I mean 20 users. That's not that impressive. That's just some big wallet guys being able to play and and get the party going essentially. And to what you said, Tigo, be cautious. If I look at a meme token and it has 3 million in liquidity and only 20 users, that's a red flag. Same thing with this whole NFT thing that they got going on, it's still a red flag to me. Um, then the very very last thing is that when Ethereum's NFT market is in full swing, full throttle, you literally have this. You can literally a Beeple NFT, or you know what I'm saying, like they sell for 3 million. So that lets you know how low the NFT market is. That's not impressive in a bull market. In a bear market, that the whole chain did 3 million, when in the absolute bull market, there will be one NFT selling for 3 million. That's a big damn difference.
Nah, Tia, you smoked that. You absolutely smoked that. You highlighted a lot of great points. Sustainability. Where will Robinhood Chain be in the next bull run? You are absolutely right. You know, there are record breaking NFT sales that happen on Ethereum that totally, you know, skyrocket past this $3 million worth of volume that Robinhood Chain. And for only 20 people, 20 wallets to be interacting with this chain for that much volume, yeah, it's the cabal. It's definitely the cabal. Great points. Great points to you. We got NF Cheese with his hand up, man. Yo, Cheese, what's good, man? What's your thoughts on this?
Does Elijah want to go first?
No, you got it.
Okay. I think Robinhood Chain is real. Like I think something to consider, like what Tia is saying, is that they have the biggest traditional market on lock, right? And when it comes to stocks, they have trust, right? Trust is a big factor. They did lose trust when they initially came out the gate. But when we talked about this like a month ago, there was a number of things that Robinhood has already done to do to rebuild trust. Like Robinhood Gold serves a lot of customers across the world, not just in the United States. And you have all different types of offerings already under Robinhood Gold, like insurance, right? So they have already like really capitalized upon the traditional market, and their user base is large. So they can take a lot more risk, and essentially, even so, right, base to Coinbase, Robinhood Chain to Robinhood, right? There really isn't any other competition for Robinhood Chain. You could say Solana, but outside of that, uh, for the normies, I'm talking about, like people are still aren't gonna go, waddle through the waters of Ethereum like we are. So I think it's gonna be like interesting to see what happens over time. Uh, you have Robinhood Chain making a big splash, and if they stick around, I think they could go. They could be up there with Bitcoin, Solana, and in terms of utility, right? They don't have a coin, so we're not looking at them and saying like their valuation is X, and they probably won't have a coin, right? I'm just talking about from TVL, and I think they could be pretty on par with the Solanas and the Ethereums in the base of the world from a L2 standpoint. Now, speaking of these NFTs specifically, I think I don't really think much about NFTs, right? Like my initial point that I was making was more so just around the chain, but as it goes for NFTs, I think the entire industry is going to see a change. And what I do like about the Robinhood NFTs so far, only one specific collection is the stock bonkers collection. Um,
Yo, Cheese. We definitely gotta give a shout out to Blue because Blue was the very first person that I heard mention those particular NFTs. She sent me a link about those stock brokers and spaces and all that. But yeah, shout out to Blue for putting us on to that. But go ahead, Cheese, continue.
Yeah, shout out to Blue on that. But I'm not sure what she mentioned, but the thing that I like about them is the fact that they don't use like the traditional ERC 721s. They use I forgot the number, but whatever the case is, they each NFT comes with a basket of on-chain stocks.
Mm.
So they're NFT with a basket, like NFT with stocks in them. So like imagine now building something like that of your own, where you could like give people NFT that has basically stocks. So like you could have like a financial literacy NFT, and your financial literacy community buys NFTs, and it comes with different stocks. You know, so it's like it's your now you can create your own ETF. So and Robinhood is already equipped for that because they have on-chain stocks, right? So I think the downside of Robinhood chain is how much they uh, like how much they don't pay attention. If they pay attention, they're already equipped with a lot of the tools that Base has to win.
Cheese, man, you highlighted a lot of great points, and I think at the beginning I misspoke and I called you NFT cheese or some shit like that. I said some wild shit, but nah, cheese, you highlighted a lot of great points. So both ends of the spectrum. Number one, yes, they definitely have a lot of the mind share, and they cleaned up a lot of their fuckery that they did, during 2021. So they have the retail mind share. To your point, it's an everything app. You got betting, you got stocks, you got traditional stocks, you have tokenized stocks, and now you have, crypto. But at this point, you have a whole chain, and they don't really need a token. Like to your point, Cheese, they don't need a token because you can go ahead and invest in the Robinhood stock itself. So stockbrokers, I didn't know, or stock bonkers, I forgot what it's called or how you pronounce it, but I didn't know that they bundled in actual, tokenized stocks into the NFTs. That's kind of an innovative way to use, these smart contracts. And I believe you said that they don't use the traditional ERC 721. They use a different kind of smart contract. But regardless of what, for them to bundle in tokenized stocks, now that's interesting. That is interesting. I was kind of over just jumping into the newest NFT plays, but that might be something, So I like the fact that both of my co-hosts, they actually had two totally different perspectives, but I can see both sides. Thank you both for your thoughts and comments. We got our guy E3. You want to share your thoughts on Robinhood Chain and what they're doing with their meme coins and NFTs?
I actually don't have much to say about Robinhood Chain. I'll be honest with you. Tia and Joe both covered it very well, and yeah, it is interesting to see. Just I would say that they've launched their own layer 2 and how they are bringing traction to the space. I know there's been like a ton of volume there, but based according to what Tia was saying, there's like only a few individuals that's actually making that noise, which has been the headlines on other chains as well, right? Like other people there's been like a select few that's just helping with moving the liquidity around on like the networks, which is fortunate, but it's good to see that, or it's interesting to see that these networks are having these activities, especially Robinhood, of all things.
Yeah, man. So great point. And I think a lot of people, they're 50-50, they're not really in the gray area with Robinhood. I think a lot of people either they love Robinhood or they not a big fan of it. Um, I'm one of those few people who are in the gray area with Robinhood. I'm a 50-50 kind of guy on Robinhood. Usually I'm not 50-50. Usually I'm on one side or the other. But I'm gonna continue. I have a Robinhood account. I made my first nice stock investments and Bitcoin investments on Robinhood. But I also was caught up in 2021 when I couldn't make any transactions, cash out any stocks. When they had that little fiasco with the GameStop and AMC. So they did a lot of cleaning up, and I'm looking forward to seeing if they will sustain as far as this volume and this mind share when you know this bear market is over, right? So to Tia's point, man, sustainability, and to Joe's point, they have a mind share of a lot of people already. So this is gonna be interesting. This is gonna be interesting. Like I said, I'm usually not 50-50, but everybody actually had great thoughts on this. Appreciate Just Cheese and NFT's thoughts on this. All right. So, all right, these next couple of stories, we got to, like I said, last week on Thursday, I mentioned a lot of stories of, data breaches and security issues, hacks. Man, there's been so many Web3 companies that actually been through that. If they didn't go through that, they just closed their doors because maybe their project failed, their NFT project failed, or whatever have you. A lot of companies have been closing their doors. It's been literally over 100 Web3 companies that shut their door just in 2026, which is crazy. Okay, so there's another data breach. We talked about Treasure. They had a data breach of about 13,700, basically 13,700 customers whose information was released, and it was unfortunate by that data breach with Treasure. But there's a whole nother company that went through the same thing. And this time it's more people. So this company is called SafePal. Okay. So this is another crypto wallet. I never heard of SafePal, but SafePal has disclosed a customer data breach affecting almost 40,000 people. So, like I said, Treasury, that was only 13,000 to 700. This is approximately 39,798 people, all right, that has been affected by this data breach after an authorization flaw in an order tracking plugin exposed names, email addresses, phone numbers, shipping addresses, and purchase information for orders placed between March 2nd, 2025 and April 11th, 2026. So SafePal stressed that its actual wallets were not compromised, with C phrases, private keys, passwords, payment information, and cryptocurrency remaining secure, but the exposed purchase and address data could allow criminals to identify hardware wallet owners and launch highly targeted phishing, impersonation, or potentially physical attacks. Okay, so that's highly concerning. So the company says it has patched the vulnerability, strengthened access controls, contacted affected customers, taken down more than 30 related phishing sites and scam links, and reduced personal data retention to 90 days. Okay, so it looked like they're only holding on to your personal data for 90 days. Okay, but I don't know, man. I think the more sophisticated AI is getting, I think we're going to see more security breaches and data hacks. So I think this might be something along the lines of criminals using AI to find these flaws, okay, or these bugs, or some kind of backdoor that hasn't been protected. You got to protect these people's data, man. What are you guys doing? Treasure, Ledger, and now SafePal. These are all hardware um, crypto wallets that people chose to get because they don't want to keep their crypto on Coinbase or Crypto.com or Kraken or whatever. They want to be the custodian of their own digital assets. So they get these devices. So the devices itself aren't compromised. It's the companies, what I'm saying, who actually expose these, the data of their customers, which is super unfortunate. So in Treasure's case, it wasn't them, it was their third party shipper, okay, called Shipmonk, that has, I guess, their ecosystem has been infiltrated and they were able to scoop up over 14,000, almost 14,000, customers' information. So here's the tricky part for you criminals, man. Some of these people may not have as much money as you think on their ledgers or their treasures or their SafePal digital, you know, hardware wallets, man. Like, this is something that I know um, it's been happening a lot in France. They call them wrench attacks. But unfortunately, when situations like this happens, I don't know what people can do to protect themselves outside of, you know, living in a state where you can carry firearms. So you got to protect yourself. You know what I'm saying? And just be vigilant and keep your hardware wallet secure. Hell, fuck it, put it in a bank. That might be opposite of what you got a hardware wallet for, but that might actually be the safest route just in case these criminals come across your address and they decide to run up in your crib. So, interesting story. There's been a French couple who moved into a house, right? And I guess there was another data breach, but their house has been broken into several times because the former owner owned crypto, and I guess his information was exposed, and people were trying to run up in the house thinking that he still lives there. So think about that. You can move into a new home that somebody used to stay, and they used to, keep their hardware wallet with them, but they moved, they sold the home. Now you living in there, but this data has been exposed saying that this person lives at this residence and has X amount of crypto, which is crazy. So please, people, be vigilant, be safe, and I think these third-party companies and I think these hardware manufacturers need to don't hold on to customers' data as long. Maybe they need to go from 90 days to like 30 days or hell, 2 weeks. You know what I'm saying? Man, but I gotta ask my co-host, what's your thoughts on this new? It's new to me. I never heard of SafePal, this hardware wallet. What do you guys think about this data breach exposing customers' information, keeping them vulnerable to criminals who might want to attack them for their crypto? Who wants to go first?
I can jump in. I think so. I don't really know if it's the actual physical wallet that is the issue, or them trying to do too much with being a hard wallet that interacts with like DeFi and dApps and all that stuff. And that's where, some security risks, um, and vulnerabilities were able to be infiltrated and manipulated. So I would just want to know more about like exactly where did the I guess I didn't want to say penetration happen, but I'm trying to find another word. But where did the vulnerabilities happen? And because from my understanding that SafePal, you're able to have hardware type of security and infrastructure that you're still able to interact and do some things and have some like I'm imagining some type of API access to some platforms where you're able to trade right inside of your wallet and do X, Y, and Z. And so for me, I'm wondering, was that where the vulnerability was, or is it actually the hard wallet itself? And if it is the hard wallet itself, um, man, that does make things, because we are seeing this a lot more. So I want to continue to trust in our wallets, because that's what us traditional crypto people are accustomed to. But man, I'm curious to see where the vulnerability happened.
It says here that the vulnerability was a flaw in the order tracking plugin. So, man.
So it was part of, okay, that makes sense. Okay, got it.
So yeah, to your point, man, these companies they got to tighten up, man. They got to have better, like either cybersecurity or just better, just I don't even know because I'm not in this space of cybersecurity, so I don't know what would need to be put up. I guess like a firewall. I don't know. Cheese, what's your thoughts on this? And we got to ask Elijah E3. What's your thoughts on this as well? And I appreciate that, Tia, your your question and your concerns about this. But yeah, you have valid concerns. You definitely, we all have valid concerns when it comes to this, man. Because yeah, hardware wallets is the way to go, supposedly. So who wants to take this, Cheese or E3?
I don't have too much to say. I think a data breach in this context is different from um, like a private key breach, right? Like this is a scenario where it's where, like, for example, we still are always going to have the breaches that we have when it comes to like Meta or anything else like that, right? Where your personal data lies. It's literally a database, right? Uh, so that part is always going to be concerning, because if humans can set it up, then humans can hack into it, right? And not only humans, but AI. So the hacking and part, I think it's going to be interesting, but the part that, I think our industry is still fighting and more concerned about is the safety of your funds. And technologies are working, like Ethereum, working on like quantum proofing things. So cybersecurity as a industry is hot. Will always be hot as we move more into the digital space. It'll just always be something that we have to consider. So I don't want to ever say we're taught in this industry to cold wallets are the best, and yes, conceptually that is the way to go from a perspective of, like, you know, you're in the industry where there's not insurance yet. Some of these platforms cannot be trusted, but that, like, one thing I said 2 weeks ago was that there's going to be platforms that start to offer better insurance than hardware wallets, right? And that's just because they have the money to do that. So when that comes, we're going to see people who are just going to be like, I will relinquish my assets to a Coinbase or etc. because it comes with X amount of insurance. And to each his own when that comes. But I think that's what might happen.
That's a great point, Cheese. I didn't think about that. If these platforms like Coinbase, they can offer like a better security method than a hardware wallet. They can be into competition with the ledgers and the treasures of the world. Just if they just come out with a cybersecurity feature, and I really think we got a bunch of brilliant people here at ABC, man. I really think you know maybe we need to put our minds together, or somebody can just start coming.
Jack Dorsey is a great example, actually. Sorry, not me to cut you off, but he has BitKey, right? BitKey is his hardware wallet that that goes, like, you can interact with Cash App and BitKey pretty seamlessly. In just a couple of days, he published on X. He published the roadmap, the development roadmap for BitKey and Cash App, and where Bitcoin plans on being further integrated into the whole block ecosystem. So, like, we already know how much, like, if Cash App and Square wanted to do their own banking, it would be possible. So, I think we're just gonna, over time, see the lines get blurred, and whoever can offer the best security across like physical and digital devices, or digital entity, digital mediums rather, then we'll see who wins.
Nah, that's a great point. That's a great point, and that circles the or rounds the table. No pun intended. On my point, just saying that I really feel like we have the minds here to come up with some kind of crypto cybersecurity application, or just another way to be on offense instead of defense when it comes to protecting your crypto assets, man. So maybe we should ask our AI chatbots, what's the ideas, and maybe we can code up something, vibe code something, you know what I mean, and start giving these platforms a layer of security, because that's what it seems like, man. Whether it's the data breaches, exposing our our customers' information, or just being able to prevent, you know, exchanges like Coinbase or Kraken not to be so vulnerable or susceptible to any kind of hacks or something like that. I don't know. We just need to come up with something, man, because it seemed like the more stories I come across like this, I really feel like that's something that's, as far as low hanging fruit, that we should try to work on, or try to develop. But that's just my thoughts. It's just my thoughts. E3, you got any thoughts on this?
Yeah, all I was gonna say is this is just something that sours the space a little bit more. At the end of the day, whoever's here in the space now is the real ones that are left over, in my honest opinion. But I did ask. I was talking to a few people on Thursday about this situation, because I think we were talking about Trezor and their breach. I think it was in one of your stories you mentioned, if I'm not mistaken. But I was being funny, and I was like, what if these major exchanges are hiring some of these hackers to, or I was being funny again, but to hire these hackers to breach these companies to ruin their confidence levels from their users. So it's now, if when people hear about these hardware wallet companies having data breaches, they're going to be like, oh, yeah, we definitely may need to start heading over to the major exchanges. And then the major exchanges, of course, they get more assets under their belt, and then the accumulation starts happening where less people are using hardware wallets and exchanges are going crazy. But I don't think that's really going to happen until, truthfully, entirely. But yeah, I just was thinking that this was something that kind of damaged the space a little bit more than the things that have already been happening since October of last year. And I hope that this is just a wake up call for more hardware wallet companies to increase their security, because you can't be a hardware wallet company and then talk about hey, your data secure, your crypto secure. Of course, they said that wallets weren't compromised, but there's other companies like Safe Wallet or the Cold Card wallet that's proved otherwise. So that's my thoughts.
Nah, E3, that's actually, that might be something. That might be something to that right there. That these companies like Coinbase or Kraken, they might be sending a third party to attack these hardware wallets to encourage people to come on to their platforms. So you never know, man. It could be these cyber crypto wars behind closed doors in the shadows that we don't know about. You know what I'm saying? To discourage people from getting the hardware wallets, man. That's a good point. That's a good point. We had to throw our conspiracy hat on for that. I like that. Good shit, E3. Good shit. So yeah, y'all, we got a couple more stories, and another story with security. Okay, and this is big. This is a major issue. Okay, I don't know how Apple was actually able to let this fly. I don't know if y'all know about this, but DeFi Llama, this is a big DeFi platform. Well, there was a fake DeFi Llama app capable of draining cryptocurrency wallets that was removed from Apple's App Store after the real DeFi Llama team conducted its own security test to prove that the application was malicious. Okay, so the DeFi Llama founder said that the team had spent months reporting the impersonating app to Apple over trademark and security concerns before loading a small test wallet, installing the fake app, and allowing it to steal the funds. So Apple reportedly removed the application within days after receiving evidence of the theft. You know how crazy that is? That DeFi Llama had to create basically a small test wallet and to just notify Apple to take this down because of trademark and security concerns, and they didn't do nothing until they actually told them like, hey, they stole funds. Like this app steals funds. This is a scam. This is not even a real app. So the amount stolen and the exact draining method were not disclosed, but the incident is especially concerning because DeFi Llama does not have an official mobile app, meaning scammers were able to use the project's branding to appear legitimate inside a trusted distribution platform. So the case highlights the growing threat of crypto wallet drainers and impersonation scams appearing through app stores, sponsored search results, and other legitimate online services where users may lower their guard because they assume applications have already been thoroughly vetted. Yo, listen, Apple, this is crazy that y'all didn't know DeFi Llama didn't have an official app and y'all let this shit fly for months. I can only imagine how many people got scammed just downloading this app and hooking up their wallets and their wallets getting drained. So again, this is another story of cybersecurity in this space that this doesn't fall on the Web3 company. This doesn't fall on DeFi Llama because they try to make Apple, the App Store, aware of this. And this is just Apple not taking Web3 seriously. Apple is dropping the ball when it comes to blockchain technology. I'm sorry, they should have been had, if not their own wallet built in the phone, which I think they should have been did that. Like, it's just crazy. You know, I'm hearing like the developer fees are crazy. It's like 30%. So it's Apple is man, y'all caught a big L for this, man. When I read this story and Apple let this app, this fake DeFi Llama app fly for months, it should be embarrassing. So, man, I gotta ask my co-host, what's your thoughts on this? And please, people, please do not download a DeFi Llama app from the Apple App Store. They already took it down. But if you see, you know, something that doesn't look right, even though they said all of this shit look legit, you know, just do some research. Do some research before you download an app from a Web3 company because they may not have an official app. So I got to ask my co-host, what's your thoughts on DeFi Llama having a fake app in Apple App Store, dragging their feet and not really taking this seriously? Who wants to go first?
I'll just jump. I'll go ahead and jump in. I don't have too much to say about this one, other than man, desperate times calls for desperate measures, and I don't know if it's just me, but the scamming gets really good in the bear market. Like the scammers really go like Olympic level, um, Olympic level, good in terms of like world class good in terms of scamming during the bear market. Um, you're absolutely right. Apple dropped the ball on this one, and I think Apple should make at least some type of statement in regards to that. But what stood out more to me is like to build a whole app to be able to get it to go through the Apple Store when Apple that vetting process to get an app launched. I mean, it's not that critical, but it's not that easy either. You know, so even there were safety measures that may have been like one letter off, but Apple missed it. You know, it could have been in the web address, but Apple missed it. You know, and that is just how it shows how good these scammers have gotten to be able to get it to where an app is actually launched. You know, so that's it.
Man, that's a great point. I hope we don't see more bogus apps. Like I'm sure they probably did this before, like a fake Coinbase app or like I don't know. You know, they got Coinbase Prime that might be like a different kind of app or crypto.com. I hope they don't get that good to the point where you know they can just take one of the more premier platforms and make a bogus app. Man, because this is unfortunate, man. Nah, great point to you. Great point. And we also got the bar chef in the building too. Shout out to the bar chef, man. We gave you a shout out earlier too, man. You know, a quick round of applause, man, for man furthering your education at Georgia Tech, man. Computer science master's degree, man. Much success to you for that, man. You know, that's gonna be dope. That's gonna be dope. But yeah, we gotta have our other co-hosts, man, share their thoughts on what's going on with Apple and Bar Chef. If you want to jump up, send a request to Tia. You know, this app been bugging out. But Just Cheese, E3, what's your thoughts on this fake DeFi Llama app and Apple just dropping the ball? Who wants to go first? E3?
Yeah, I'll just chime in real quick and just say this is just another thing that um, ruins confidence for retail in the space. Like, someone might think that they're actually doing the right thing by utilizing DeFi Llama to check on a project or some token that they're interested in, and boom, then they're scammed. And they're like, see, this is why people think this whole space is a scam. And then thankfully, Apple is finally taking it down, if I'm understanding correctly. But yeah, it's just unfortunate that there's people, bad actors in the space, still doing this. And I know that these are always going to exist for eternity, but yeah, it sucks to hear that people may have downloaded this app and lost a whole bunch of their hard-earned money. So Apple, they need to do a better job with the vetting process for this, because yeah, we can't, especially when things really do take off, can't have malicious actors just stealing hard-earned money and ruining the space even more. So.
Nah, E3, you made a great point, man. This is definitely discouraging retail investors, man. You know, retail is just damn near just out of this space at this point, man. It's only us, like the DJs and like real, you know, builders in this space and people who've been in this space for a long time that's still here, man. Because I could definitely see, to your point, retail being like, yo, I'm over this space, man. There's so many crypto scams and, you know, hacks going on in here. It's crazy. Cheese, what's your thoughts on this, bro?
I don't have thoughts on this specifically, but I do have a story that you guys should find hilarious. And it's related. So I think it was like maybe 2024. It had to be 2024. I was at the blockchain center, and I think I was there by myself. But this guy had came to the door, and he said, "Is this the blockchain?" And I said, "No, this is the Atlanta Blockchain Center." And then he just said, "No, you owe me my money. I need you to give me my money right now." And I said, "No, excuse me, I don't got no money for you." He's like, "This is the blockchain, right?" I said, "No, this is not the blockchain. This is the Atlanta Blockchain Center." So he goes in his, he's not listening to me. Like, he's just straight up not listening to me. He goes in his pocket, pulls out his phone, and he said, "I went to Google and I put blockchain, and you guys came up. So I'm here, and you owe me money. I've been calling, and and you're the blockchain, and you need to give me my money back." And I said, "I'm sorry, I cannot help you with that, but let me see your phone." So I took his phone, I went to the App Store, and the blockchain app that he was referring to was Origin out in UK. So I was like, "You see, this app here that you're talking about is not even from Atlanta, it's in the UK." And the app was just called Blockchain. Like straight up. Like Apple had an app in the App Store called Blockchain. Right? So at this point he was just pissed. He was just like, "So you can't get my money back?" I'm like, "I'm sorry, we don't have any affiliation with this app." And he's just pissed. Like, he's like, "I've been calling him, like, I don't know what to tell you." but this is the Atlanta Blockchain Center, not the blockchain. Like there's not a location for the blockchain. So he just turned around. He just walked away. He was upset. But that's just double down on your point. Like I don't know what, like when people can do certain things or get their apps into the app store, and then there's not enough education around that. Things like this happen. People come thinking that get a blockchain. You know,
Man, Cheese, to your point, man, I'm glad that you were safe and that guy ain't had no gun or did no dumb shit or try to get violent with you, bro, because that would have been ugly over something that we had no control over, man. But hey, that's why, man, this tour that we going on is so important. To Cheese's point, people need to be educated. So that's why we're gonna be going on tour. We going to Athens. We going to Augusta. We going to Savannah. Man, to educate y'all, to be aware of shit like this. I think we definitely gonna need to have a security segment. When we do this tour, we could talk about all of the fascinating things that come with using blockchain technology and how innovative it is and what it's going to do to our financial system. But we gotta have a security part of our session, yo. We gotta teach people about what to look out for and what not to do in this space because we can't afford to have our community just get taken advantage of or be in a situation like what happened with Cheese that could have went left. You see what I'm saying? So I'm glad that guy didn't do anything stupid, but I'm glad you let him know, like, you gave him some clarity, like this platform is based in the UK, but Apple, man, y'all need to tighten up. Y'all, I don't know what it is, but somebody ain't doing their job up there, man. Maybe they just using AI too much instead of just having human oversight to say, let me just verify that this app is real. You know what I'm saying? And do some research. Do some research before you just allow an app to be on your store. Crazy, yo. Crazy. Um, so yeah, I appreciate everybody's thoughts on that, man. But like I said, Cheese, I'm glad you were safe, man. That was a hell of a story though, brother. Hell of a story. So yeah, man, be on the lookout, y'all. We are going on tour. Tia posted, so look at some of the things that we posted in the chat, man. If y'all haven't signed up for the tour, sign up for the tour, man. Is if you can't get to one city, try to get to another city. We will be carpooling, and if we don't carpool, we might end up getting a little sprinter van. Who knows? But we gonna be out there, and we gonna be representing. We got shirts for y'all. You know what I'm saying? We got probably gonna have some 3D printed items for y'all too, man. Me and Cheese, we might print out some Bitcoin signs or some Solana little keychains or something. I don't know, but we gonna come up with something dope for y'all, man. But I appreciate everybody's thoughts on that and stay vigilant. Keep your head on the swivel in this Web3 space, y'all. All right, so for the last story, we got to talk about AI, and I thought that this story was super important as well because some people trying to get over with their AI content. Okay, without disclosing that it's created by AI. There was a whole issue with Tiger and an artist named Felix Feenan or some shit like that, and he tried to act like he got a hit. He got a hit, but the problem was he didn't let everybody know he was using AI, and then it came out that it was AI, and now he catches some flack. But the song is already like this is I think the very first AI song that kind of got legs. So if y'all want to do research on it, go ahead and do some research on it. But I'm gonna talk about.
I got devils in my pockets.
Yo, man, it's crazy, man. AI music is gonna be out there. Oh, and I mentioned this Thursday too. If people are interested in actually watching AI videos, AI commercials, AI movies, guess what? Roku will have 24/7 AI content, which is gonna be crazy. All right, so that's coming soon. So this last story is about Anthropic. So Anthropic has begun embedding an invisible machine-readable watermark directly into text generated by supported Claude models, beginning with models launched in the European Union on August 2nd. and with plans for a worldwide rollout. So, unlike conventional metadata or visible AI labels, the watermark is incorporated during text generation and is designed to remain detectable when content is copied and potentially after some editing without affecting readability or meaning. So Anthropic says the technology will extend across Claude, its API, Claude Code, and cloud deployments while supporting files can also receive cryptographically signed C2 PA provenance metadata. So the company has not revealed exactly how its text watermark works, though researchers are examining whether techniques such as paraphrasing, translation, or AI powered rewriting could weaken or remove the signal. Okay? So, I think this is pretty dope. This is going to work effectively for teachers who are now grading these papers, and these students all of a sudden overnight became, super philosophical or great thinkers, and no, they're using Claude or Gemini or ChatGPT to create their content. So now I think this will help out a lot of companies too. You know what I'm saying? People just putting anything on their resume, padding it, making it seem like they're more than what they are. I think this is going to be a very effective tool in weeding out, people who are really thorough with their paperwork and information and homework, especially students. Students, man, the jig is up, man. So I gotta ask my co-host, what's your thoughts on Anthropic using this, excuse me, invisible watermark that will detect if content is actually AI generated? I really like this. Who wants to go first?
I'll go ahead and go first again. So one of the things that sticks out for me with this story is I was just recently listening to a podcast where they were discussing how IP is going to be really tricky, and differentiating copyright, what's able to be copywritten and what isn't, based on AI and based on like some of the new rules that are coming down the pipeline. You can't, if it's AI generated, then you can't. So being able to differentiate what was written by AI and what was not will be the determining factor whether certain works are able to be copywritten. And so for me, I'm like, oh well, this helps that a lot, because I was thinking, wow, when I heard this story, I'm like, you know what? Um, During this generative era, IP lawyers are about to be like paid, because if they can find out ways to where they're able to guarantee, IP of work versus AI, then that's going to be very lucrative. And then here comes Anthropic. Now we'll just watermark it and make it easy. So it was interesting. That was my whole point. I don't have any skin in the game, like whether I like it or don't like it. I guess I'll that will be determined once we're actually using it and see how it actually works. But for now, the interesting part for me is simply the IP part and differentiating what's able to be owned or and not. So
Nah, great point to you. The copyright aspect, that is important. That is important, especially with the IP. To your point, I like that. Thank you for that. Thank you for that, NFT. Just Cheese, E3. What's your thoughts on Anthropic using the AI watermark to determine if something is authentic or created by AI?
Yeah, I think it's necessary, most definitely. Uh, I mean, Gemini has their little thing down the bottom for for letting people know that anything generated in Gemini is AI. Uh, the images they put the little symbol down there in the bottom right. But real quick, coming back to the Roku TV thing, I think that's interesting. Uh, One thing I like about Roku TV is that a lot of people actually already like leave their Roku TVs on, right? Like the Roku screensaver is one of the best innovations innovations of advertisement since Roku, since like television in the like last 7 years, or however long. Roku's been probably longer than 7 years, probably like 10 years now. But people just like, ever you go places and people have Roku TV, the TV's is left on, and that thing is just moving, and it's nothing but ads in there, just showing you different companies and different movies. So it's become like a great place for advertising. So if I'm Roku, if I want to take that space which is already, completely like it's not real, right? Roku City is not real, right? But it's inspired by moments and times that people happen and want to advertise. So if now you want to give people the ability to add, like, into the Roku TV app, their own shows, and give that whole like place where people can just have content. Yes, it's gonna probably be AI slop right now, but over time, we already see that Meta has a whole app dedicated to AI, right? AI. So I know what you would call it. Sora tried it, and they sunsetted that. But Meta's still pushing their AI app, and Roku. I think they already have this Roku City concept that is always on. So people are just gonna have it on by default. You might as well see if you can push some content in there as well, and let some people experiment. Shit, if you have something that you want to kind of advertise and you want to put it in a space where people already have eyeballs, I would actually say that becomes a new opportunity for you to advertise something in a new space that a lot of people are looking at, but not being competitive against like CC other like TV advertising channels.
Geez, that's a great perspective. That is a great perspective. Putting some content on Roku television, so when they just have that Roku City just going through, having ads on there, man. So that's another great perspective to take a look at too with AI content. That's a dope perspective, man. So, but quick question: if you put together, let's just say like a 15-minute short video, would you want to put some of your content on Roku? Just to have some content on there and make some coins in the process, man. Would you ever put any AI generated content on there? Or that's this question goes for everybody too.
I would, because especially if it might bring you back to something real that you're working on, I would do it.
Great point, man. I think we definitely need to look into this, man. Any storytellers, any great storytellers that's using AI, hey, Roku is a platform, man. And I think going back to the watermarking part, I think this is going to be important, especially with this election coming up, because there's going to be content that's going to be generated. We already saw all kind of dope videos of AI generated content of people who died, and Tupac in Havana, he racing Kobe and all of that. So there was all kind of crazy videos. We knew it was AI, but what about people who are already living? There's going to be AI generated content for political reasons, whether it's to throw their opponent under the bus or to lie about what they achieved. I can definitely see where these watermarks could come in handy too. E3, what's your thoughts? What's your thoughts on this, brother? Oh, a great perspective too, Cheese.
Yeah, great perspective from all of you. I was gonna really touch on what you just mentioned for like the political side of things, of how people may start using AI generated political videos. So it'd be cool